Hello, and welcome to our podcast episode number 48, A Skeptical Author's Terrifying Encounter with a Haunted Hotel Room. I'm Thomas, and I am here with my friend Timothy. Tonight, we are going to talk about Room 1408. As always, spoilers ahead. Room 1408 is a 2007 psychological horror film about Mike Enslin, an author who enters room 1408 in the Dolphin Hotel despite warnings of its supernatural dangers. The room begins to torment him with visions and ghosts from his past, testing his sanity and will to survive. As time runs out and the temperature rises, Mike must confront the truth about the room and himself before it's too late. Well, Timothy, so did you like room 1408?
I found it passable, Thomas, but I do understand why this isn't your cup of tea. Personally, I appreciated the psychological aspect of the story rather than relying on gore and jump scares for fear factor. The film managed to create a sense of claustrophobia and desperation that kept me engaged throughout the movie.
Well, I guess it's not really my genre of choice, but I can appreciate a well-made horror flick when I see one. Speaking of which, what did you think about John Cusack's performance as Mike Enslin? Did you find him convincing in his role as the skeptical author being tormented by the room?
Oh, Cusack was excellent in this film. He managed to convey a great range of emotions and reactions throughout the story. His character's gradual descent into madness felt genuine and well acted. I especially liked how he maintained his defiance against the room, even when faced with seemingly insurmountable challenges.
Well, I can see why some people might enjoy Cusack's performance here. Overall, I found it difficult to connect with him or any of the other characters in this movie. They all felt rather one-dimensional and stereotypical, the cynical author, his estranged wife, etc. Do you think this was intentional on the part of the filmmakers, to create archetypes for their story?
You might be right about that, Thomas, but I think it served its purpose well enough in this case. The story is primarily focused on Mike Enslin's experiences within room 1408 and his personal journey rather than developing deep character arcs for every single person involved. It kept the narrative tight-knit and allowed for more tension to build between Mike and the room itself.
I see your point there, Timothy. So let's talk about some of the more supernatural elements in this film. The whole concept of room 1408 being haunted by past victims and their personal traumas is quite chilling when you think about it. Do you believe that such a place could actually exist? Or do you think it's just an exaggeration for the sake of entertainment?
Well, I'm not one to dismiss the possibility outright, Thomas. There have been numerous instances throughout history where people have claimed to experience paranormal activities or encounters with the supernatural. As for whether something like room 1408 could actually exist, I suppose it's possible within the realm of fiction. But as a skeptic myself, I would need more concrete evidence before believing in such things.
That's fair enough, Timothy. Speaking of paranormal activities, one thing that particularly stood out to me was how room 1408 seemed to manipulate time and space within its confines. The countdown clock, the shifts between past and present events, even the scene where Mike relives a surfing accident, it all adds up to create an eerie sense of unreality. What are your thoughts on this aspect of the film?
I found those elements quite intriguing, actually, Tom. They added another layer of complexity to the story and contributed significantly to the overall sense of unease that permeates throughout the movie. It made for an engaging watch as you never quite knew what was real or imagined within room 1408's wall.
Agreed, Timothy. Those elements definitely added depth to the film. Now, let's talk about some of the more controversial aspects of this movie, like its ending. Without giving away any spoilers, what were your thoughts on how things wrapped up? Did you find it satisfying? Or did you have any lingering questions or concerns?
Well, Tom, I can see why some people might be divided over Room 1408's ending. Personally, I felt like it concluded in a way that was both unexpected and fitting, given the film's themes of free will and personal choice. It left me with plenty to think about long after the credits rolled, which I believe is always a good sign for any movie.
That's certainly true, Timothy. Now, let's talk about one of the more fascinating aspects of this movie, its production. Did you know that Room 1408 was actually filmed in a real hotel room? The crew spent 2 weeks transforming a room at the Gage Hotel in Colorado into the terrifying chamber seen on screen. They even installed a specially designed set piece for the infamous window, which could be manipulated to show different scenes outside depending on the angle it was viewed from. This level of detail and commitment to realism certainly adds to the film's overall creepiness factor.
I did not know that, Thomas. That's quite impressive, actually. It just goes to show how much effort went into creating this chilling masterpiece. Another interesting tidbit is that John Cusack himself was initially hesitant about taking on the role of Mike Enslin due to his personal fear of being confined in small spaces. He overcame this phobia by spending time inside a custom-built cube during filming, which had screens projecting different scenarios meant to simulate Room 1408's environment. This dedication from both the cast and crew really shines through in the final product, making it all the more effective as a horror story.
Indeed, Tim. It's always interesting to learn about the processes behind great works of art like this one. But speaking of art, do you think there are any other films or stories that tackle similar themes or concepts found in Room 1408? Maybe something that deals with personal demons and the power they hold over us.
You know, Tom, I've actually been thinking about this quite a bit. While there aren't many movies that share exactly the same premise as Room 1408, there are several films that explore similar themes of confronting personal fears and the impact they can have on our lives. One such film that comes to mind is The Shining by Stanley Kubrick, which deals with a man's descent into madness brought upon by his own inner demons. Another example would be the Ring series, where the protagonist must confront her deepest fears and the supernatural consequences of ignoring them. Both these movies share similarities with Room 1408 in terms of their exploration into human psychology and the power our minds can have over us.
Excellent points, Tim. It's amazing how universal these themes are across different mediums and genres. And speaking of which, what do you think would be a great follow-up discussion for our next podcast episode? Maybe something related to one of these films or another psychological thriller that we both enjoy?
Sounds like a plan, Tom. I was actually thinking about watching The Sixth Sense again soon. It's been years since I last saw it, and I remember being blown away by its twist ending. Plus, it would be interesting to compare and contrast Room 1408 with another Night Shyamalan film in terms of storytelling, character development, and overall effectiveness as a horror thriller. So how about we make that our next topic?
Oh, I absolutely love The Sixth Sense. It's one of those movies where every time you watch it, you notice something new about it. And speaking of twists, Room 1408 has quite a few surprises up its sleeve as well. One aspect that really stands out to me is the way director Mikael Hafstrom handles these revelations throughout the film. He does an excellent job at building tension and keeping us on edge, making sure we're always questioning what's real or imagined within Room 1408's walls.
I completely agree with you, Tom.
The pacing of this movie is superb. It keeps you guessing until the very end, while
also providing plenty of jump scares and creepy moments along the way. And let's not forget about John Cusack's performance as Mike Enslin. He does an incredible job portraying both his skepticism and eventual vulnerability as he confronts the horrors within room 1408.
Absolutely, Tim. I think it also helps that Stephen King, who wrote the original story, had a hand in writing the screenplay. His experience with crafting chilling tales definitely translates well onto the big screen here. And speaking of adaptations, one interesting thing to note is how Room 1408 differs from its source material. While the basic premise remains the same, a skeptic checks into a haunted hotel room there. Are several key changes made for the film version that I think work incredibly well.
That's an excellent point, Tom. The changes made in the adaptation process seem to have strengthened certain aspects of Room 1408 while also streamlining others. For instance, I feel like focusing more on Mike Enslin's personal journey rather than developing deep character arcs for everyone involved was a smart decision, as it allowed us to connect with him on a deeper level and really care about what happens next.
Definitely, Tim. And let's not forget about the visuals. This movie is absolutely stunning. The way cinematographer Samuel Holst captures both the claustrophobic atmosphere within room 1408 and its chilling supernatural elements is simply breathtaking. It really adds another layer of intensity to an already gripping story.
I couldn't agree more, Tom. The visuals in this film are truly haunting, which only serves to heighten the overall sense of dread that permeates throughout its runtime. And speaking of heightening tension, let's not overlook the use of music and sound design in room 1408. They play a crucial role in creating an unsettling atmosphere that keeps us on edge even during moments of relative calm.
Absolutely, Tim. The score by Johann Soderquist is absolutely chilling. It perfectly captures the sense of dread and unease that permeates throughout this film. And let's not forget about the sound design, from the creaking doors to eerie whispers in the background. Every element seems to have been carefully crafted to maximize our discomfort and keep us on edge.
It really is a masterclass in horror filmmaking, Tom, from its superb direction and acting performances to its haunting visuals and sound design. Room 1408 has it all, and I think that's why this movie continues to be such a beloved entry in both the Stephen King and horror canon.
Indeed, Tim. The casting for this film was truly spot on as well. John Cusack brings a perfect blend of skepticism and vulnerability to his role as Mike Enslin, which makes it easy for the audience to connect with him throughout his terrifying ordeal in room 1408. Samuel L. Jackson, who plays Gerald Olin, also delivers a chilling performance that adds depth and complexity to an already compelling narrative. His portrayal of the hotel's manager, who seems to know more than he lets on only, serves to heighten the sense of unease that permeates throughout the film.
I couldn't agree more, Tom. The chemistry between Cusack and Jackson is palpable, which really adds another layer of tension to their scenes together. And let's not forget about the supporting cast, who also deliver some standout performances, especially in regards to bringing the various characters within room 1408 to life. Mary McCormack does a fantastic job as Lily Enslin, Mike's concerned wife, while Tony Shalhoub is indeed chilling as Johnny Galantier, another hotel guest who shares his own haunting experience in room 312.
That's very true, Todd. The ensemble cast really elevates this film and brings an extra level of realism to its supernatural element. And speaking of which, one aspect that I think is often overlooked but adds significantly to the overall creepiness factor in room 1408 is the way it blurs the line between reality and fantasy. There are several moments throughout the film where it's unclear whether what we're seeing is actually happening, or if it's all just a product of Enslin's imagination or even his subconscious mind trying to protect him from the truth about room 1408.
Indeed, Tom, that sense of ambiguity definitely adds an extra layer of intrigue and tension to the film. It keeps us guessing until the very end as we try to piece together what's real and imagined within the confines of room 1408. And speaking of the ending, I personally love how it leaves things open-ended, allowing for multiple interpretations depending on each viewer's perspective. What about you? Do you have any favorite scenes or moments from room 1408 that really stand out to you?
Oh, indeed, Tim. There are so many great moments in this film, but one scene that always sticks with me is when Enslin first discovers the hidden compartment behind the painting of room 1408. It's a pivotal moment in the story where he begins to question everything he thought he knew about the room and its past. The way Cusack delivers his lines during this scene with that mix of disbelief and growing fear is just masterful acting. And I also love how the film plays with our expectations here. We're led to believe that Enslin has finally uncovered some truth about room 1408 only, for it to be revealed later on that he might have been wrong all along.
That's such a great scene, Tom. And speaking of great scene, I think one of my personal favorites is when Enslin has his first encounter with the ghostly figure of room 1408's former guest, Miss Logan. The way it unfolds from the creepy whispering in the background to her sudden appearance behind him is just so chilling. And I also love how this moment serves as a turning point for Enslin's character arc, marking his transition from skeptic to believer.
Indeed, Time. The way room 1408 slowly chips away at Enslin's skepticism throughout the film is truly masterful storytelling. And let's not forget about how beautifully crafted this movie is from a technical standpoint as well. As we discussed earlier, everything from the haunting visuals to the atmospheric sound design plays a crucial role in creating an unsettling atmosphere that heightens our experience of watching it.
You said it, Tom. Room 1408 is truly a tour de force of horror filmmaking that manages to both terrify and captivate audiences all at once. And with its themes of confronting personal fears and the power of our minds, it's a movie that continues to resonate long after the credits roll. I think this is why Room 1408 remains such an enduring classic within both the horror genre and cinema as a whole.
Indeed, Tim. And as we've discussed throughout this podcast, Room 1408 is more than just a spooky horror flick. It also explores deeper themes such as the power of our minds and confronting personal fears. These themes make it a relatable film that transcends its genre and resonates with audiences on a universal level.
Indeed, Tom. And I think one aspect of Room 1408's cultural significance lies in its ability to tap into our collective fascination with the supernatural. The concept of haunted rooms or buildings has been a staple in horror stories for centuries. And this film does an incredible job of modernizing that classic trope while still maintaining its chilling allure.
That's very true, Ty. And I also believe that Room 1408's enduring popularity can be attributed to its exploration of the human psyche. As we watch Enslin grapple with his own fears and insecurities within the confines of this cursed room, it becomes impossible not to reflect on our own vulnerabilities as viewers. This emotional depth is what truly sets Room 1408 apart from other horror films and contributes greatly to its cultural significance.
Indeed, Tom. And I think one of the reasons why Room 1408 resonates so deeply with audiences is because it forces us to confront our own mortality head on. The film's central premise revolves around a man who finds himself trapped in a room where death seems to be lurking around every corner. This existential terror is something that all of us can relate to on some level. And it's what makes this movie so unsettling, yet irresistibly compelling.
That's an excellent point, Tim. And I think another aspect of Room 1408's cultural significance lies in its commentary on the nature of truth and reality. Throughout the film, Enslin is forced to question everything he thought he knew about the world around him as well as his own perceptions of reality. This theme is particularly relevant today when we are constantly bombarded with information from various sources that challenge our understanding of the world.
Indeed, Tom. And I think it's this relatability combined with its haunting visuals, chilling sound design, and masterful storytelling that makes Room 1408 such an enduring classic within both horror, cinema, and popular culture as a whole. It manages to tap into our deepest fears while also challenging us to confront them head on, making it a truly unforgettable viewing experience for anyone who dares step inside its eerie world.
Indeed, Time. And I think it's also important to acknowledge the impact that Room 1408 has had on popular culture as a whole. It's clear that this film has inspired countless other horror films and stories that continue to explore similar themes of the supernatural, the power of the mind, and our collective fascination with death and darkness.
That's very true, Tom. And I think it's safe to say that Room 1408 is a modern masterpiece of horror cinema. It manages to both terrify and captivate audiences while also delivering an intriguing story that lingers long after the credits roll. And with its powerful themes and stunning visuals, it's no wonder this film has become such an enduring classic.
Unquestionably, Tim. I couldn't have said it better myself. On that note, let me just add that if you haven't seen Room 1408 yet, do yourself a favor and watch it as soon as possible. You won't regret it. And if you're already a fan of this film like us, be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from other fans of this fantastic movie.
Indeed, Tom. And remember to subscribe to our channel for more great discussions about movies, TV shows, and whatever else happens to strike our fancy. We truly appreciate your support and can't wait to share more of our thoughts with you all in the future. So until next time, farewell, everyone, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.